Let's talk about Apple.
We all know that in the early days, Apple was just 3 people sitting in a garage, and on 1st April 1976, Apple was found in Cupertino, California, US. But did you know that Apple makes $869,000 per minute, which is equal to rupees 6 crore 33 lakhs 65,307 rupees. And because of that, Apple took over the US government in 2011 in terms of cash in hand. Well, let's come back to 1976 and have a look how Apple was built. So there were 3 co-founders. One, Stephen G. Wozniak. Second, Stephen P. Jobs. And the third and the least known one is Ronald G. Wayne. That's because he left the company just after 12 days selling the shares just for $800. But if he would have not sold it then, the worth of the share would have been $30 billion. But this amount of cash in hand was not always the case. When they started, Steve Jobs sold his car and Wozniak had to sell his scientific calculator. And before making Apple, both Steve Jobs and Wozniak worked in a gaming company called Atari. Also, we all know that Steve Jobs was sadly asked to leave Apple. So instead of giving up, he helped fund a small graphic company, which today is Pixar, the company that has made the movie Toy Story and many other interesting animation movies. Also, he created a computer company called NEC, which was in future bought by Apple, which bought Steve Jobs back to Apple. And Steve Jobs just took $1 per year as a salary and rather earned by the stocks and shares that he had in the company. Okay, a fun fact, Apple launched a Macintosh on their 20th anniversary, which turned out to be $7,500. That is basically 5,50,000 rupees. And if you bought that, a person would hand it over to you in a limousine by a person wearing a tuxedo. You might have heard about all these conspiracy theories on where did the logo and the name of Apple came from. But it turns out that Steve Jobs was on a fruit only diet at the time, so he named it Apple. It's that simple. And the first ever logo of Apple looked like this, and the logo of Apple was changed 6 times till they got this minimal and simple logo. Now it is the most loved sticker in a product. Okay, a fun fact, did you know the flower in an Apple Watch was not animated but was shot live in a lab? Also, there is a statement in Apple's current term and conditions that you cannot use its products for any biological or nuclear missiles. And this is a side fact that a Mac can stop bullets, which is shown by some YouTube videos. But I would like to tell all the kids who are watching this, don't try this. Just don't. Now let's talk about Apple's main selling point, iPhones. iPhones were launched in 2007. It internally given the name M58, and the software engineers who made the iPhone OS never saw the hardware engineers who made the iPhone's main structure, and the hardware engineers never saw the software engineers. Isn't that weird? Well, it gets more weird. The trademark of iPhone is not owned by Apple, it is actually owned by a company called Cisco, and Apple till date pays Cisco for its license. So next time when you're showing off your iPhone, remember, Apple doesn't own it, it's owned by Cisco. Okay, a fun fact, the music company Beats was bought by Apple to make AirPods and getting ideas for its engineering, and after they bought Beats, it actually led to decline of this company, which was actually planned by Apple to decrease the competition, but you can still buy Beats on their online stores. Also, all the displays on iPhones are not actually made by Apple, they are made by Samsung, giving Samsung a market for displays, and Apple gets great displays. Also, you people might have always showed the display time on every iPhone launch events as 9:41 am. Well, that is because most of their iPhone events start at 9 am and they unveil their iPhones and giving 1 minute room for breathing. Also, smoking around an iPhone can actually ruin its warranty. And you all might have heard of Siri. Well, it was initially not an Apple product. It was an app for App Store, Google Store, and also Blueberry Store. But in future, it was acquired by Apple and now is a product that is always associated with Apple. Okay, fun fact again, Apple actually launched a clothing line in 1986, which was an entire suit of crazy looking clothes with Apple logo on it. It's just great to see that they discontinued it. Okay, so now let's talk about PCs. So Apple was not a mobile company, it was a computer company, and the first computer that they made was in 1984 and it was called Apple I or the Mac, and it was launched at the time when IBM was the biggest company in computers, but at that time they had no concept of home computers, as every one of us are using it to attend our class. Basically, mobiles are also computers. But how did they achieve it? Well, Steve Jobs had an idea. Why not to decrease the size of the processor chip to as the size of a finger, to the level that it was easy to build a computer for normal day-to-day people. Also, back then people would say, computer is not a thing to use at your house. But Steve Jobs proved them wrong, and from there it changed the whole computer industry and the way world sees computer now. Okay, fun fact, but this one I hope that you all might know. जब iPod बना था, स्टीव जॉब्स ने फेमसली उसको एक एक्वेरियम में फेंक दिया था, सिर्फ अपने इंजीनियर्स को ये बताने के लिए कि अभी भी उसके अंदर स्पेस बचा है और उसको और भी ज़्यादा स्मॉल साइज के अंदर क्रिएट किया जा सकता है. But let's come back to the topic. And then came the Apple II in 1977. Yes, Apple was revolutionary, but that doesn't mean he didn't have competitors. They were not the only one in the game. There was a Radio Shack TRS-80 which actually outsold the Apple II. And then how can we forget IBM, which actually bought computers in 1981. That was before Apple, but they were not as revolutionary as Apple. And also काफ़ी सारी कंपनीज ने IBM को कॉपी भी किया था. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कॉम्पैक्ट, जिसने IBM का सेम टू सेम बट एक डिफरेंट शेप के अंदर सेम टू सेम पीसी लॉन्च किया. ऑल्सो तब भी एंड टिल डेट एप्पल हमेशा एयर को यूज़ करता है अपने सारे प्रोडक्ट्स ट्रांसपोर्ट करने के लिए, बिकॉज उनके हिसाब से दैट इज़ द फास्टेस्ट वे टू डू इट. एंड वो टाइम को बहुत ज़्यादा वैल्यू करते हैं, वो टाइम बिल्कुल भी वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहते. सो दे ऑलवेज यूज़ एयरप्लेन्स, और ये काफ़ी बड़ा रीज़न है हमारे इंडिया के अंदर प्राइसेस इंक्रीज होने का एप्पल के प्रोडक्ट्स के, बिकॉज एप्पल के प्रोडक्ट्स के ऊपर बहुत बड़ी इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी लगती है. ओके, फन फैक्ट, या दिस इज द लास्ट वन. Did you know that Macintosh, if you remove the A from the Macintosh, it is actually a breed of Apple. It's not breed, it's variety. And that is it for my project, and I would like to thank you all for bearing with me for so long, and the future me would be more than happy to answer all your questions. And a fun fact,